Welcome to Talk to Brazil with Tom Reaoch, the business connector to business in Brazil. Welcome to Talk to Brazil, the business connection, the world's first English language internet radio program about business in Brazil, now in podcast format. I am Tom Reaoch, an American in Brazil for many years and known as the King of Networking, speaker and author on networking. Podcasting is a modern form of networking. I'm talking from the city of Campinas in the state of São Paulo, Brazil. So when you talk to Tom, you talk to Brazil and the world. Today's guest is Marcelo Knobel, and that's Knobel. Marcelo is the rector of the University of Campinas. That's the state university here in the city of Campinas. Marcelo Knobel is a full professor at the Gleb Wattingen Physics Institute of the University of Campinas. He was vice president for undergraduate programs at the university from 2009 to 2013. He is an Eisenhower Fellow, the Multi-Nation Program, a Guggenheim Fellow, 2009, and Commander of the Order of Scientific Merit in Brazil. He acts as a member of the National Assessment of Higher Education Commission and also as a board member of Cultural Vistas. Marcelo and I met recently at AmCham Campinas, which is the American Chamber of Commerce, where he made a presentation on the university's future developments. And again, we met during the innovation in the Innova Campinas Innovation Festival a couple of weeks ago. So with that, Professor Marcelo Knobel, welcome to Talk to Brazil.
Hi, Tom. It's very nice to talk to you and your listeners. Thank you for inviting me for this very interesting space.
Thank you for your time, because I know you're always in action, you're always somewhere, you're always doing something. But just for our audience, give an overview about Unicamp, the size, a little bit about how it started and where we are today.
Well, Unicamp is the University of Campinas, is a state university, is a public university here in Brazil. That means that we are a completely tuition-free university that is now 53 years old. It was created in 1966, and we have now about 40,000 students. And we have a rather interesting profile. Half of the students is undergraduate students, and half of the students are graduate students. So we have a rather research-intensive university, and we work with a good number of subjects. So we are a rather good and comprehensive university. Regarding the rankings, we are considered to be among the best universities of Latin America.
Right.
And we are very strong in innovation, entrepreneurship, research in several fields, and of course also the important role of health in the region of Campinas and in Brazil as well.
Well, I think that's a point to mention, because in terms of health for the whole region, the center of the hospital, which is also a learning institute,
yes, in fact,
offers services to a very wide, not only the municipalities in Campinas, but from Brazil and sometimes worldwide. You handle patients and very important and interesting research here.
Yes, in fact, we have 4 different hospitals. One of the hospitals is dedicated only for women, and we have a ratio of influence of about 6.5 million people in the macro region of Campinas, and of course, we are a high complexity hospital, so we receive patients from all over Brazil and all over the state. So it's a rather important part of the university, the health center.
Just in terms of employment, that's also one of the major focus points for employment in our region.
Yes, that's true. We have employment within the university. Of course, we have today around 10,000 employees, about 8,000 staff members, and 2,000 full professors that are dedicated to university full time.
Right.
And of course, we have the role of every year taking a good number of undergraduate students to be formed here, and we develop this workforce for the country and for the region as well.
And speaking about Campinas, Campinas was recently chosen and elected, actually, as a smart city within a very wide categorization of coming to that conclusion. And as we talk about Campinas as becoming, the whole region becoming a smart city, part of that is because of the smart people, smart students, and the smart university. Because obviously Unicamp is a center of excellence, but we're also in a neighborhood full of other institutions that also really have an ecosystem relationship with the university.
Yes. In fact, this is a rather interesting situation here in the region of Campinas. Not only Unicamp, but also other universities, research centers, and we also are contributing to that because several companies that were created from former students of the university, former staff members of the university, they stay around here, and we have now a very interesting ecosystem that was formed around the university and in the region of Campinas. So just to mention, we have a catalog of about 800 companies that were created from former students or people connected to the university, and this gives about 32,000 direct positions in the job market. So This is rather important in the region and for the country as well. And this makes a rather unusual ecosystems for entrepreneurship and for innovation.
Well, also, I read recently several of these companies that you mentioned, of the 800, we also have unicorns that have come out.
Yeah, exactly. We have what we know, it's about, we have 2 unicorns right now. They are very interesting and young companies that were formed here. And of course, we are hoping that soon we will have more unicorns from the University of Campinas as well.
Well, I saw that, as I mentioned, the Innova Campinas Innovation Festival. Unicamp had a very interesting area. They're already promoting many projects that are ongoing within the university, and certainly they will sprout out to be growing companies and step off campus, right?
Yes, well, as a matter of fact, the University of Campinas is the number 1 in patents in Brazil. We are the top 1 in this ranking, and many of these new concepts, new ideas are already developed into interesting products that give us some royalties. Mm-hmm. And we are developing more and more this innovation culture within the community of the university. So we plan, for example, challenges. We have students participating in the project. We have science-based innovation. So we are really proud of that, and we are working hard with our innovation agency to make it happen and to make it happen more quickly, and having more and more students and professors and staff members interested in the process of innovation and the new ideas that can develop from the university itself.
Well, for our listeners and persons out there in the world who may not know of Campinas or about Campinas, I first invite you to take a look at Google Maps, find Campinas on Google Maps, find Unicamp on that. You'll find that in the sub-district called Barão Geraldo, and there you'll find in the center Unicamp, and you'll find many of these institutions that Marcelo mentioned that are very near. And when I say very near, and for our audience, I live in a place here called Cidade Universitária, which is adjacent. So Unicamp is my neighbor, and we're in the neighborhood. But the other day I looked on Google Maps, and with a 4-kilometer radius from my house, we have Unicamp, We have a number of different institutes and many of these different startups that you mentioned that are really here in our neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Campinas has always been a center of innovation. But
yes.
Sometimes people outside the world think Campinas is a neighborhood of the city of São Paulo. It's not.
Yes, and in fact we have four important and interesting national labs. So we have a nanotechnology lab. We have the new synchrotron light source that is going to open soon, which will be for many years the best one in the world, right, regarding the possibilities to study the matter in the nano scale. We have bioscience technology labs. We have ethanol studies. We have the agricultural part of the research is very important in this region. So we have all the conditions here to develop more and more, and this is what we are trying to do, to put together this strength and make it happen in a more powerful way, I would say.
And I have to say that you have, because since I live in the neighborhood, I've been here for years, I've seen all of the growth, not only of the university, but the attractability, what I call the power of attraction, right? And Unicamp does have the power of attraction, firstly for the high level of professors, the high level of research, and obviously, too, the high level of students. It's not a university that's easy to get into.
Oh, no, it's very hard. In fact, being a public university and being completely tuition-free and having the quality that we have many people trying to get in. So just to mention an example, here we have typically 80,000 students trying to get a place here in the university, and per year we have 3,300 places. So it's very hard.
Let me repeat that. That's 80,000 candidates for 3,300
places. Yes.
Places. Okay.
Yeah. So this is compared to the best universities in the world. So right, we are really selective. But of course, we also take care of the social inclusion, the affirmative actions, and so on. So we are we really have excellent students in our areas here, and we are very proud of that. And this is also repeated, of course, in the graduate as well. So right, to get into a master or doctorate program here, which is also completely tuition free, is very hard. And this makes that something very important, that our community, the students here, are really excellent.
No, when I say value is a hand-in-hand process, right?
Sure.
Sometimes we say one hand washes the other, but here one hand teaches the other and one hand holds the other. And the pride that you have of having the students, I know that because I know many people who have graduated from the university. They're also very proud to have been to the university.
Sure.
And many companies are also as proud to say that their employees come from Unicamp.
Yes, and this is of course, for our perspective, it's really important, and we are always trying to develop more and to bring to the university better practices and better ideas, right, to develop for the future, I would say.
And for the future, what do you see down the road to the future? What's the future of Unicamp?
Nowadays, we are facing a very complicated and strong crisis that has been developing in the country for many years, and the university is also facing this crisis as well. But nevertheless, we are working very hard in order to plan the future. We have a very interesting situation here that recently, I would say in three or 4 years ago, the university had the chance to buy a very important and very large land that we have in the neighborhood. So we bought about 1.5 million square meters.
Right.
That would be 60 hectares.
Right.
And we are trying to develop in this region, in this area, what we call the international hub of sustainable development. Mm-hmm. The idea is to partner with other universities and institutions in the neighborhood in order to create a new concept here in Brazil that will be a government and private companies partnerships, universities partnership, in order to study and to promote the sustainable development. And the idea is to create a smart district,
right,
with the theme of sustainability. So this is what we are working on that, and we recently got an important help, financial help from the International Development Bank to develop the strategic plan for this region. So we got about $1 million in order to make the planning of this interesting region that we have here.
And again, I want to ask our listeners to go to Google Maps or Google Satellite, and you'll find this area that you just mentioned, Marcelo. It's adjacent to the Unicamp University, and if I'm not mistaken, it's about the same size as the actual university. So in terms of physical size, you're doubling
70%, yes, about 70%. It's almost doubling the land, the area that we have now.
And with that, this adjacent area, and this is being called the HID, right?
Yes.
The Hub of is it the International Development or the Hub of Innovation Development?
Yeah, Hub of well, in Portuguese, the acronym is HIDS, and the translation would be International Hub of Sustainable Development.
Okay, so it's just reordinating the letters and you come out with the same thing.
Yes.
But the idea is actually that, really, to create a mega hub in Campinas, taking advantage of everything that the city and the major region offers. And I think the integration of the companies in the area also lead to that, because many companies have set up their own research and development in our area.
Sure, and this is the idea. And the idea is also to attract universities from abroad that could develop from that and have a branch here or part of the research center here. So that would be rather interesting for our university, for our region, and of course for the development of the state.
Well, the municipal government here, along the smart city concept, has also opened a number of what I call international ventures of sister city agreements with cities throughout the world, obviously to attract and create more interrelationships. I know we have that in many different cities, and that's part of it. You have to attract people to come here, attract companies, attract universities.
Yes, I am quite sure that this will happen naturally. Mm-hmm. The problem, we have to be realistic right now. It's in Brazil, the bureaucracy is not easy. You have this podcast regarding business in Brazil, and you probably touched this point in many occasions. So we have a rather complicated bureaucracy, and we are the governance of this area is that it's the more complicated thing to develop. So we are working hard in order to make a rather interesting and flexible governance to provide some level of security for the interested companies, the interested universities that will be willing to partner with us in this rather complex and an interesting project.
No, I agree with you. It's been said by others. Brazil is not an easy place to establish oneself as a company. Many have said Brazil is not for beginners.
Yeah, exactly.
And that may be true, but what I have seen, and I know, the strong do survive. And the world is complicated everywhere. There's no easy place in the whole world. Right? And
yes,
what I've seen,
that's true.
You've seen that. You travel probably more than I do. Even for universities outside of Brazil, the university situation worldwide is also not easy. Companies, it's not easy. It's not easy for everybody. The easy thing, if we want to call it easy, is the moment in Brazil. Brazil still has many opportunities along every one of the market segments that we can think. You mentioned agriculture, renewable energy, innovation, startups, fintechs, health, and it goes on. And many of these things are happening. This is the place to come, not only to research to start, but to learn resilience and to learn how to survive in a very, very complex world.
Yeah, sure. And in fact, we have here, what people sometimes don't know is that we have a really, really good infrastructure for research. So in many areas of knowledge, in physics, in biology, in chemistry, in engineering. So we have excellent facilities in order to make it happen. And differently from many places in the world, we work with this concept of being completely free. Right. So we don't charge anything for the use of any equipment or for anything. Well, for the Americans, for example, they found even strange that we don't charge for parking place as well. So,
that's true.
The hospital
don't even charge for coffee. If you go into your office and have a coffee, you don't pay.
Of course, yes. So we don't really. It's a different way to make research, and the infrastructure is really, really good for doing that. And for people that don't know the place, it would be rather, I would say that it's an important place to visit and to get to know.
It is. And recently, during this Innova Campinas Innovation Festival, which there were things happening all over the city, another friend of mine who I had interviewed here created the Campinas Friendly Campinas, a Campinas Friendly and a Campinas Friendly tour. Because another thing that might not be known outside, everything that you said is true, but this is also a friendly place to visit.
Sure.
And it's also a place that anybody, I'm a foreigner, I've been here for many years, people are well received here. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you've come from. So I think that integration within a friendly atmosphere, that's priceless.
Yes, and of course, we being a university which is international, in the concept we have about, just to mention the University of Campinas, we have more than 1,000 or 1,200 students from all different places of the world every semester. So it's a rather international place, and people can really develop. It's not necessary to have a knowledge on Portuguese in order to survive, at least.
Oh, I've survived.
Yeah. Everyone survives. Yeah.
Everybody survives. And everybody's happy. And I think that's important, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, Marcelo, I want to thank you. We're coming to the end of our time. And I know you have a very, very busy schedule, but I want to thank you for taking part of your time to talk to our audience.
It was my pleasure.
We're going to be back talking again as the program and as this process for the HIDS advances, okay?
Okay, thank you very much for having me, and it's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I want to thank our audience for being part and also invite you to visit our website, which is www.talktobrazil.com, where you'll find today's interview with Professor Marcelo Knobel, and that's Knobel, and links to more information about Unicamp, and also his LinkedIn profile. You also find this and our previous shows of Talk to Brazil on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Himalaya, CastBox, Google Podcast, and many others. And remind everyone to find the site to Unicamp, that's unicamp.br. There is an English section on that site, just full of information. So, and thank you, our audience, and remind everyone that today's program was brought to us by Focus MI Market Intelligence, and Focus MI specializes in market research for the Brazilian agricultural market. More about them on their site, focusmi.com. Goodbye, and thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to Tom Reaoch on Talk to Brazil, the business connector to Brazil.